Welcome to Everything You Need to Know About the Ascension of Humanity, the podcast where ancient wisdom meets modern science and spiritual evolution gets real. I'm Heather, an energy healer, channel, and spiritual coach with Divine Ascension Company. Each week, we're diving deep into the mysteries of human consciousness, spiritual awakening, and the profound transformation happening within us and around us. But here's the thing. We're not doing this with our heads in the clouds. We're bringing neuroscience, psychology, quantum physics, and cutting-edge research to the table alongside meditation, energy work, and timeless spiritual teachings. Because the truth is, the ascension of humanity isn't some far-off cosmic event. It's happening right now in the choices we make, the awareness we cultivate, and the healing we do within ourselves. Whether you're curious about how mindfulness literally rewires your brain, why shadow work is backed by depth psychology, or what coherence between your heart and mind actually means scientifically, you're in the right place. We'll explore practices like breathwork, meditation, and emotional alchemy, not as abstract concepts, but as tangible tools grounded in both spiritual wisdom and scientific understanding. And here's where it gets even better. In our bonus episodes, you'll hear from real people sharing real stories. These are the warriors, the healers, the everyday seekers who've walked through their own darkness and found their light. They'll share their breakthroughs, their struggles, and the resources that actually help them along the way. Because personal growth isn't a solo journey, and you deserve to know you're not alone. So whether you're just beginning to question the nature of reality, or you're deep in your spiritual practice, this podcast is your companion on the path. It's time to expand, to awaken, and to rise together. Let's begin. What do you do when the universe sends you signs that you're meant to follow in your grandfather's footsteps, even though he passed before you were born? Today's guest, Susan Lyons, experienced a profound spiritual awakening that led her to discover her grandfather was a hypnotherapist, and that she'd been connected to his work since before her birth. Now, she teaches at the same institute where she trained, helping people strip away societal conditioning to discover their true selves. We're diving into the power of signs and synchronicities, the fascinating practice of quantum jumping, where you access parallel realities to elevate your vibration, and why gratitude is the key to maintaining those higher states. Susan shares how her grandfather went from skeptic to believer when he scientifically validated hypnotherapy's effectiveness, a case where past life memories were confirmed through historical records, and the growing phenomenon of clients spontaneously channeling energies during sessions. If you've ever felt like there's a deeper version of yourself waiting to emerge, or you're curious about accessing past lives and parallel realities, this conversation will show you what's possible. Let's dive in. Welcome back, guys, to another episode. Today we have a very special guest. Her name is Susan. How are you doing today, Susan?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me, Heather.
Awesome. It is a pleasure. Why don't you start by introducing yourself and telling us a little more about you?
Yeah, so my name is Susan Lyons, and I'm a certified clinical hypnotherapist, a spiritual hypnotherapist, and a board certified regression therapist. And I've been doing this work for over 13 years, and I love the spiritual deep dives. I'm finding more and more the shift in consciousness happening and an awakening happening, and I think this work is more important than ever. Just to support what's going on with the collective and this waking up process. And an interesting story is how I got into this work. About 14 years ago, I was not happy at all with where I was in the place in my life, and I was sitting in my backyard on my back porch, and I was literally talking to my guides and angels and saying, I know there's something else I'm supposed to be doing, and I know I have a greater purpose, and I know it has something to do with helping others. Please help me, and please guide me to what my mission and my purpose is. And I literally saw the words hypnotherapy spell themselves out to me in my mind. And I
Wow.
thought, well, isn't that interesting? Because my grandfather used to be a hypnotherapist, and he was a past life regression therapist as well, and a psychologist. And I was like, oh, isn't that interesting? I have a box of his stuff. And I would often go through it, not realizing at any point that I would be doing this one day. And when he had passed away, my family had said, what if anything you'd like of grandfather's? And I had asked for all of his hypnotherapy material, which included, some of his cases and dictation of actual past life regression sessions,
Hmm.
research into validating some of the facts, a ton of articles, thank you notes, Edgar Casey material, and you name it.
Wow.
And so when I got this message from my guides and angels, I went looking through that box again and I thought, wow, this is something else and I really need to pursue this message that I got. So I started looking for hypnotherapy schools and it took me a little bit, but come to find out there was one not even 10 minutes from my house.
Wow. What are the chances?
What are the chances? And one of the oldest and longest running schools in the United States, HCH Institute in Lafayette, California. And I was
Wow.
at the time was living in the Bay Area and I thought, okay, well, I'm gonna check this out. And I went to their open house. And when I walked in there, I said, oh my goodness, I'm home. Like the quality and the character of the people, it's basically a landing pad for light workers. And I had long been looking for that spiritual connection and not finding it in my everyday life. So when I walked in there, I said, well, this is it. And I decided I was going to pursue my studies there. And interestingly, I've never left. I'm also a teacher at that school now, and did other training there besides the hypnotherapy training and the past life advanced training, Reiki training as well. And to continue on with the story that makes this even so much more interesting is I finished my studies and I was in my 6 month long internship and I was out to lunch with my mom one day and we were talking about, how much I loved what I was doing and how passionate I was about this work. And she reminded me that she was actually living with my grandparents. So this is the grandfather that was the hypnotherapist. She was living with them when she was pregnant with me. And my grandfather was hypnotizing her for anxiety. My father was in Vietnam at the time. And so she was being hypnotized when I was in her belly. And she was also sitting and witnessing past life regressions that he was conducting from the living room. So I
Wow.
was witnessing this before I was even born.
That's crazy.
And when I heard that story, I went, "Oh my God, why am I just hearing this now?" But what a validation, right? Like
Yeah.
really my guides and angels were just they're constantly pointing me in the right direction and I was just like so grateful. And I continue to find those little bits of inspiration. I might open a book here that I received from him, and there might be an article tucked in there or a thank you note. Or recently, a couple years ago, found his business cards tucked in some material that was in that box of stuff. So I feel like I'm just divinely guided constantly by my grandfather. So it
That's
really
amazing.
feels like, yeah, it really feels like kind of carrying the family torch, right? Like,
Yeah.
feels like somehow this was all planned out.
Yeah. Especially, I mean, being witness to it while you're still in the womb, like that's gotta, just from a psychology standpoint, like that's gotta have a big impact. I know when my mom was pregnant with me, my dad would put headphones on her belly and play music and just play music, music, music. And music is one of the like biggest things in my life. It affects my mood. It affects a lot of different things. So it's interesting that you would end up doing this, not only because, I mean, it was probably your life path anyway, but just to see the correlation between your relationship with that practice, before you were born. That's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And, just to kind of piggyback off of that, I mean, the title of your show, Everything You Need to Know about this Ascension of Humanity, is all of these signs that are
Mhm.
showing up for us. And if we're paying attention and follow the breadcrumbs, amazing things unfold.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just did an episode about signs and synchronicities and like how the signs are everywhere. They're all over the place. It's just learning how to pay attention and to pick up on them. And once you start, I mean, they're just everywhere.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And it's truly amazing how your guides just kind of know how to do that for you and how to kind of point you in that right direction. And you're right, like absolutely, things just start to unfold and happen effortlessly. And you find that peace and that happiness because you become more in alignment with what you're meant to do. And once you just kind of give that last little bit of surrender and be like, okay, this is it, like we're just gonna go for it, like your whole life will change. Absolutely. I went through that myself. It's truly amazing.
Yeah. And it's like the more we pay attention and notice, the more these things keep happening.
Hmm.
To the point where it's like, oh my goodness, like I have to laugh sometimes, like, oh, thanks again.
Hmm. Yep.
Keeping me on my path. And the name of my website is Discover Your True Self, and that is my whole mission in this work, is for each and every one of us to have the opportunity to discover who it is we really are on a soul level,
Hmm.
without all of the layers and without all the programming and the conditioning. And I really believe in its divine order that our guides and angels will start to show us give us little nudges to kind of say, hey, pay attention, that there's more than meets the eye. That it's not just what we see that's going on around us. Really
Absolutely.
tap into our inner knowing, to really listen from that heart space, because what we see with our eyes, I mean, we're told if you see it then you can believe it. We are not uh, we're almost deprogrammed from tapping into that inner knowing and our intuition. um, when we start trusting that, that's when magic happens.
Absolutely. And half the time, what we see isn't even reality anyway. Like when you see people posting on social media or see people talking, like on the surface, it looks great and wonderful, but like there's so many things behind the scenes that are going on that you don't know about. And it really has to make you think, like, okay, well, if this surface appearance of something isn't even true, like, why not question the surface appearance of everything else and try to dive deeper into what actually is happening and what more there is out there.
Absolutely, I could 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, what's
And
your favorite part about doing hypnotherapy? It's fascinating to me.
yeah, I would say the spiritual deep dives.
Hmm.
And that would be, things like, on the very beginner level, even just connecting with our higher self and our spirit guides, our ancestors. We have all of these helpers available to us if
Hmm.
we just remember to ask.
Yeah.
And then, from there, there's so many topics like the past life topics, and things that can be explored with that. I mean, the list of those goes on and on, fears and phobias, things that are going on in this life that you can't understand. You can't explain why you have such an adversity to something or such a fear of something, right?
Hmm.
Gosh, relationships that are very easy or very complicated in this life could be stemming from a continuation of soul contracts from another life.
Hmm.
So those are just a couple of examples of past life work, but also super interesting future lives. Like what can we learn about ourselves if we jump into the future?
Wow.
Because this is all really just happening right now. And
Hmm.
I really truly believe that, we are just tuning into a different station when we're tapping into these trance state experiences. So a future life, a non-human incarnation. Things like also talking with the dead. So this could be talking with somebody that crossed over onto the other side to do grief work, or even
Hmm.
talking with the dead. So connecting with our ancestors for guidance.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh, the in-between lives, what happens in between a past life and our current life, and the
Hmm.
plan that we came down here with, like our life plan
Yeah.
that we, kind of scripted before we came here, right?
Hmm.
And within that, again, soul groups and contracts and life purpose. One of the things that I'm really loving so much right now is quantum jumping.
I wanted to ask you about that because we talked about that before. Can you tell us what quantum jumping is
Yeah,
first?
yeah. It's the idea that there are parallel realities that are happening at the same time. So there's other versions of, let's say, myself operating in different potentials. And so there might be, let's say, for example, 4 or 5 different potentials that are running alongside each other, right? And there's one that's in a higher vibration, that's like one stepping into your real true potential. But, we, operate at a certain vibration every day and things get in our way and knock us out of our game, right? Maybe knock us into a moment of fear or doubt or anxiety. So we are not running on a higher vibration when those things happen. And when we're not running at that high vibration, we will never see that other option. We won't
Hmm.
even believe it's available to us.
Yeah.
So the idea of raising our vibration in the trance state, in an altered state, raising the vibration, getting rid of all of the layers of the things that are holding us back, and then being able to step into that potential and experiencing it like it's happening right now in
Yeah.
full detail. And
So it's
then
basically the same thing as timeline jumping, right?
yeah, very
Okay.
similar. Yeah, yeah. And so operating in that vibration and seeing the evidence that it is a possibility, and then asking our higher self and our guides to just blend a path between our reality that we're living now and this new reality, and basically bringing that vibration back with us, and that being the continuum of what we step into now. So I think the most important part of that is the raising of the vibration.
Hmm. Because you can't just bring that, I mean, you can bring that vibration back with you when you come out of that hypnotic state, but there's still work that you have to do to keep it, right? It doesn't just, it's just not just like, hey, I want to do this, let's do this. There's more involved in the process, right?
There's more involved in the process, but to simplify it, I would say one of the easiest ways to stay in that higher vibration is gratitude.
Hmm.
And if we can stay in that place, so when we're stepping into that new reality, like it's happening right now, and we're experiencing it in all of our visceral senses, right? Like touch, sound, taste, everything we see, right? Um, what was I going to say about that? So when we can immerse ourselves in that experience and be living in that pure like bliss and joy of like becoming our true potential self, that feels so good that our
Hmm.
subconscious and our higher self just wants us to have that. And so
Yeah.
it will also orchestrate things to keep us on that path, to get us into that, to line us up with that.
Hmm.
So, as much as we can stay in that gratitude space, our subconscious will help us along because it wants that carrot again.
Yeah.
It's going to seek that opportunity.
Mm. So have you found any, because I know like being a channel and being an inner child healing therapist and
Mhm.
like everybody kind of has their own different methods and practices. Do you find any similarities between the way you do your practice versus how your grandfather did it?
Yes. First of all, interestingly, when he got into this work with hypnotherapy, he thought it was very interesting, but at first, he didn't believe in the whole past life thing at all. In fact, he sought out to debunk the whole thing. He called it baloney. And he proved himself incorrect because he was able to validate these things. So he approached it from much more of a scientific point of view.
Hmm.
Whereas even when he started to believe this, right, it's like, oh, let's validate these facts so we can prove to people that they weren't hallucinating or making this up.
Right.
My approach is that if a healing happens, that's the goal.
Hmm.
Right. So if we believe that a healing happens in our mind, then it is so. So I think it's fun and interesting to validate facts, but I come from the approach of looking for the healing. And also, I would say that the wording, I think, has developed and changed and become a little less directive. I find some of his words pretty directive. Um, and I think a part of my training, we're trained to open-ended questions and not get so involved with the client's process, right? We're there to hold the space for them
Right.
so that they feel safe and not judged, right? So they're free to have their story. And our job as the hypnotherapist, as the past life regressionist, is to hold the space and let the story unfold and to follow where their narrative leads them.
Hmm. Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's interesting that you're a channel too. I was just talking about this with a group earlier today, that the group, that International Board for Regression Therapy, and we were talking about how people are now not just channeling, obviously, past life work is kind of channeling, right, our soul self for that
Yeah.
message to come through, but I'm having people coming for hypnotherapy and just start channeling other energies without even knowing that they're a channel.
Wow.
We're starting to wake up because we're getting that egoic state out of the way. We're getting the critical mind out of the way, and the information is just flowing. And I'm just like fascinated with how this has even changed in the last 10 years,
Yeah.
the
And
types
I
of
have a
people.
feeling it's just going to continue because as the, you know, ascension process goes on and these energies that we're getting from the sun and from all these higher dimensional beings that are helping us, the vibration that the collective is rising to is going to bring our psychic abilities, our channel, our connection to the other side and these higher dimensions it's just going to keep coming online more and more. And it's fascinating to see people who are able to just do it, and not even know. It's really cool.
It is really cool, and for people like you and I that are supporting these kind of people in these processes, it's really wonderful to see, and it's also like it's very needed for people to have places to go where they can talk about these things and not feel like they're losing their mind, right?
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's not fun either. Because I mean, for me, especially when I first started on the awakening journey, I didn't know anybody that was going through this. I didn't know what was going on, and I'm like, man, am I really losing it? Like, have I totally just lost my wits? And I mean, I haven't. And it took me a lot of like soul searching and trust and faith and surrender to be like, okay, even if I am losing my mind, like this is way too wonderful. I'd rather live this way anyway. Like, whatever, let's just go with it.
Yes, yes, yes. I so agree. And I mean it gets to the point where it becomes impossible when our soul is dying to express itself. And if we're trying to shut this down, I've personally experienced a lot of anxiety from trying to shut that down, and not being able to express myself. And I've also seen circumstances where people, it actually can make them ill because their
Hmm.
higher self is like, let yourself blossom, like speak your truth. And so a lot of times one of the things I'll say to clients is it's really important to find your tribe,
Yeah,
kind of group of
absolutely.
people or some friends that are like-minded that you can talk about this with.
And you don't even have to be in the same place. Like a lot of mine are scattered throughout the country.
Yeah.
And just to be able to chat, video chat or do a group meditation once a week, which we do, is super extremely helpful because we haven't reached the point yet where there's a lot of us around each other because we're still scattered to kind of help the planet and the ley lines and the
Yeah,
um, distribution of the light and stuff. But even just finding someone online it's extremely helpful. Finding that little community of people who are kind of on the same path or just anyone to talk to about what's happening it was super extremely important for me, I know.
absolutely. And we're so lucky now with Zoom. I mean,
Hmm.
so we can connect with people in other places because, like I said, I didn't know that there was something right in my backyard. Before I found the school, I didn't have people that I felt like I could really express this to. I think, you get the raised eyebrow.
Hmm.
Okay, what is she
Yep.
talking about? So I think support is really, really important. And I tell every one of my clients that thank you for being brave enough to do this work
Right.
because there's a ripple effect. Every person that finds some healing, like it's rippling out into the collective, and it's
Hmm.
so needed right now.
Absolutely. 100%. So I'm curious, your grandfather said that he debunked himself or debunked his lack of faith in hypnotherapy, past life regression. How
Yeah.
did he put in his notes how he came to that conclusion? Like what aha moment did he have, or was it a string of things that he discovered that made him change his mind?
Yeah, it's actually written about in a book called Yoga, Youth, and Reincarnation. So, I read some things in that book, and when I was studying some more things about him, actually for a presentation, I kept learning a little bit more and more. But the famous case of Bridie Murphy is, well, he's like, that's baloney. So he started experimenting with this. And he said, pretty much what he said is he realized people are describing the way they go and the way they come back again in the same way.
Hmm.
So he couldn't ignore that because there was no internet back then. He was doing this in the 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Wow.
So these people, people weren't writing about this, people weren't talking about this necessarily, and the fact that he kept seeing this common theme. And then when he started validating the facts, like, for example, there was a woman in a regression that he did live in front of about 60 people. And she kept trying to say the name of a place that nobody could find the name of this place until a librarian one day was doing some research and stumbled upon this was a place that had been in Burma it no longer exists now. The name of
Mm.
that town is named something else. And through going back in records, I find that this is the name of the place she's talking about.
Wow.
It's like, wow. So you can't ignore some of those things. Like, for example, a street name that's now changed, but somebody's insisting they lived in this place on this, this street address and this family name. So he was able to, validate some facts. And because he was more scientific about it, he couldn't ignore that.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Good for him because
Yeah.
at least he was open-minded enough to even check it out. I feel like most people, and the scientific community is coming around. My background is in science; it's in psychology, so um, I feel like sometimes it's difficult for the analytical mind to kind of grasp these concepts and ideas that you can't tangibly like give evidence for. But the signs and synchronicities are just they pile too high to ignore. But good for him for being open-minded to even explore that. That's amazing.
Yeah, I know. I'm so grateful. Oh my
Mhm.
goodness. Grateful for his research for sure. Yeah.
So are you still in California?
Yeah, so I don't live in the Bay Area anymore. That all changed during lockdown. So I live in Northern California, so still in California, a couple hours outside of the Bay Area.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm originally from California. I miss it. But
Mm.
do you have a practice out there? Do you have what well you did say the name of your website, but how can
Yeah.
people find you if they're interested in doing past life regression with you?
Yeah, so I have a private practice that's all mostly, I would say, on Zoom. And people can find me through my website, which is discoveryourtrueself.com, but it's discover, DISCOVERTRU without the E, self.com. And so I have one-on-one sessions that I conduct over Zoom. This might be interesting for your listeners, for people who are just getting into this or want to dip their toe in, or even just ready full on. I also lead a once a month online group. It's the first Wednesday of every month from 6:30 to 9 p.m. That information is also on my website to register for that. This group actually used to meet in person and now it's online, but we've been meeting for about 8 years. And every month there's a different past life topic.
Oh, wow.
And so we have a discussion around this, create community again. And then it's open-ended that I lead this past life regression, and then we gather back together to share afterwards. And it's really wonderful and validating to hear each other's stories.
Wow, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I might have to check that out myself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Love to have you.
Awesome. So if
Yeah.
there's one thing before we wrap up here, if there's one thing that you can tell the collective right now, whether they're waking up, have been woken up, or have no idea what we're even talking about, what would you say to them?
I would say to stay curious and open. And to be in the present moment, because our higher self is here to guide us along our path. And there's a lot of modalities right now to assist us in this. And so stay curious and pay attention. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I truly appreciate it. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a great conversation.
Awesome. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope something in this conversation resonated with you. And if it did, I want to tell you about something I'm really excited about. I'm running a free 5-day challenge called The Spirit Plus Self. 5 days, 5 practices, a real foundation for your spiritual awakening. We cover mindfulness, energy work, heart opening, intuition, and manifestation. All the things I wish someone had walked me through when I was starting out. It's completely free, and it starts March 3rd. You can sign up through the link in the show notes. And if you're ready to go deeper right now, I offer one-on-one sessions, everything from tarot readings and channeled guidance to inner child healing and shamanic energy work. You can book a free discovery call through the link below. I'd love to stay connected with you, so reach out through any of the links in the show notes. I'll see you in the next episode. Until then, trust what you know.